I think Kenya's come a long way. 5 years ago, no fiber optic cable here, expensive to do business on the mobile phone if you want to do any business, expensive to use the internet not reliable. That has all changed. Internet is quite reliable now, quite cheap, quite available. People are taking for granted a lot of good connectivity. It's great. I remember maybe 8 years ago, some international mobile companies couldn't connect to our local networks because they had to do hops of a satellite, and that was a crazy thing to do because it didn't give you the sort of efficiency. That's all changed. What we've then seen is that we've seen a lot of companies getting started by entrepreneurs to respond to this infrastructure improvement. And many of these companies are saying now it's possible to do a business for education, a business on farming using a mobile platform. A lot of young developers have taken the mobile platform as their platform of choice rather than the major web, because a lot of people have mobiles. So you've seen SMS-based solutions, USSD-based solutions, and even mobile web-based solutions are using mobile browsers. So that's great. A lot of hubs have come in. I have NILab, iLab at Strathmore University, the whole culture of labs which concentrate talent. That's a great thing. The other thing that has happened also is that a lot of venture capital has also come in. And this is very silent. You may not even know it in the media. A lot of technology companies now have international investors or local investors putting money and saying, look, let me bet on this technology and let me see how this goes. So it's a very exciting time. And the net result of that is you're seeing a lot more innovation coming in. Kenya has gained a lot of attention. We've been called the Silicon Savannah of Africa by leading publications like Forbes, Time Magazine, New York Times. Initially what we thought was that this country was going to be a country which is going to be known for business process outsourcing in its traditional sense. It hasn't necessarily worked in that way. That is still going on. But our own innovation has sort of driven and overtaken that. And you know what? We need to respond to what the market tells us. People are saying, oh, we planned that, it didn't work. Sometimes in strategy, you plan to sell vegetables and you also sell tea on the side. People come and buy the tea. They say, look, you're a tea house, and you are responsive, and that's what we've responded to the market. I don't think there's enough of an angel investment network in this country. It needs to get bigger. We need to see more people putting some of their charm and money in IT and IT companies. But they won't do that unless they see a big success. So it's a vicious cycle. Look, if you tell a traditional investor, look, I'm going to build 10 flats, and they tell him I'm going to go and invest in mobile companies or IT companies, it's going to be serious. Show me the results. Show me an exit where if I want to sell this, a flat you make your rent, you want to sell it, you know what it's going to cost you. What is the exit strategy for these guys? And that is developing. As more companies become successful and we have one big success, people are going to start seeing an exit. People who invest in companies and invest in them so that one day they get their return, either through increased value where they can sell that company or sell those shares or play in the long haul. Whichever way, there's always an exit, whether it's short or long term. And this is one thing that we need to build in. Secondly, there's not enough awareness about what mobile and IT companies do. They think, oh, these are clever guys who don't know how to do a business, and that needs to change. Thirdly, people need to mentor these guys. Some of these guys do very clever things, but they just need an experienced person to say, look, that business makes sense, but if you did this or that, that might be the way to make money. We need a hyper-connected country. Everything is connected. If you need this information, you can get it. If you want access, you have it. If you want knowledge, it's there. And that requires the private sector to work very closely with the government to ensure that they respond to the government opportunity. We look at things like open data. It gives you the technology platform you're looking for. That is the best thing that the government has done as a platform to enable people to respond in terms of applications. We need a lot more awareness building by people like the media, so that people in rural areas and people in the disadvantaged communities, let's say people with disability or whatever it is, are also brought in and they are mainstreamed, so are not left out of this digital divide. The role of government is to be a catalyst and an enabling environment. Put the right policies in place and also catalyze one or two areas where you think people they need to be shepherded, you do it. And we've done it through the content grant. We've given away money in a very structured process to entrepreneurs who are doing developing applications. We want to see what kind of results we are getting. And I think we need to continue to do this, setting up incubators, raising standards, giving money, but not taking over the role of private sector to actually develop applications. That's not the government's role. The role of institutions of higher learning is very, very important. There's something called the triple helix in in the theory of management and in the theory of ecosystems that says universities doing research, businessmen capitalizing that research, and government being a policy environment must come together. Those three things are important. And if you look at the way the ICT board works, we work on a triple helix model. We recognize the role of institutions of higher learning. We work a lot with Strathmore, University of Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta University, and all these other universities in them helping us with the thinking and the research to support this. We demand more research out of universities in ICT, frankly speaking. I think that's one of the things that we feel we're not getting enough out of. The second one is the business community. Which provides mentorship and also entrepreneurial response to the research. Somebody in the university says this is a good area, the entrepreneur says, okay, fine, let me go and get this area to be exploited commercially. And the third area is the government policy. To not interfere where they shouldn't interfere, not regulate what is not required to be regulated, regulate what is required to be regulated with that, and that's the case, protect investments, provide intellectual property protection, provide enabling environment, provide the right incentives,